The effects of social media on one's identity. Throughout the past 10 years, social media has been a huge influence on society, and this influence has only been getting stronger. MySpace was one of the first major social media sites on the internet, existing primarily to help people stay in touch with their friends and family and stay connected with the outside world. Stenivek, an author from Huffington Post, talks about MySpace's role in society over the years. Since its official launch in 2004, MySpace has played a role in social events like political scandals and was even central in grisly murder cases. At the same time, the site minted internet celebrities and even launched music careers. As years went by, more sites, such as the infamous Facebook and Twitter, began to surpass MySpace and continued connecting the world one post at a time. As these sites' popularity continued to grow, people engrossed themselves in them more and more to the point that some practically lived through social media. Things some find meaningless, such as follower count, is what others find to be so important. People will spend money to increase their followers and feel appreciated by others online. Throughout these past 11 years, the social media has been on the rise. Society, as well as the life of individuals, has been deeply changed and continues to change every day. Social media, especially Twitter and Facebook, are the first place many people go to discuss controversial topics. This year's election is a great example. Many people are saying that the election was determined by social media. Matthew DeSarma, an author in the business and communications section of InquiriesJournal.com, mentioned this idea, saying, Social media, especially Twitter, has played an instrumental role in the amount of attention received by the most flagrant examples of negative rhetoric in the 2016 campaign cycle. In fact, one of the most controversial topics that came up in the social media aspect regarded Donald Trump's tweets on Twitter. He said several rude things about fellow politicians, other countries and their citizens, and especially his opponent Hillary Clinton. One of the most startling things that he tweeted was, if Hillary Clinton can't satisfy her husband, what makes her think she can satisfy America? Although he deleted this soon after, it still resulted in many people questioning his qualifications as a leader and his overall professionalism. Donald Trump's identity as a political figure in the election was strongly influenced by Twitter because of all these things he said and promised. People made assumptions about him and his identity based solely on things he posted. His tweets made it clear that he was not afraid to speak his mind, regardless of the backlash he knew some of his unpopular opinions could cause him. Social media now plays the role of the newspapers and the news stations. People look to Twitter and Facebook as they do the morning news to find information. The key difference is the user's ability to contribute to this conversation, have their voice be heard in the debate on a large scale, versus the past, where people had very little power to contribute to conversations in newspapers or on the television. This ability for one to say anything they want in a conversation makes people feel powerful. Sitting behind a screen gives people the sense of empowerment without the fear of immediate backlash in a face-to-face conversation. Because of this, people are much more likely to say something bold on social media that they may not have the courage to say directly to somebody in conversation. This has been a controversial topic lately and is usually related to cyberbullying. Richard Donegan, a studier of strategic communication at Ellen University, writes, as technology has evolved, bullying has proliferated. With the advent of internet, chat rooms soon followed. Online forums provided a communal breeding ground for youth to assault one another. These online forums are now so readily available with the touch of one's finger on their phone that it is no wonder the issue has been escalating. When people sit on their phone or behind their computer, they are taken into a different world. They feel their actions here have no consequence since they are in a different realm. This can cause them to completely change who they are. Someone who may be shy and secluded in real life may shift their identity online and become outspoken and rude. This shift in identity can stretch across many other topics as well. Seeing people act out on controversial topics, such as the gender issues that have been popular in the news recently, influences others to act out to express their opinion. Right now, a common topic on social media is the transgender argument. Some people believe gender is simply a title they are given at birth and is not part of one's identity. There has also been debate that there should be options to choose from more than one gender, male and female, when being asked to choose which gender they identify as. This is a topic that has been given much attention by social media. The idea of wanting to change your identity from what was given at birth has been popular on Twitter and Facebook. Topics such as this are usually split into two categories: those who feel strongly for one. Those who feel strongly for one side, and those who do not care. Those who care will get behind their side and argue with others to convince them their side is correct. Those who are indifferent typically choose to make and share memes insulting the topic and those who argue with others for their side. Taking a stance in the argument, whether indifferent or for a side, forces one to allow social media to shape their identity. By showing indifference, one openly shows that they do not agree that the topic matters and choose not to get involved or insult those that are involved. Those who do get involved show that they care and speak out to support or refute the argument. One's involvement in these topics could cause them to change the gender they identify with, therefore changing a large part of who they are. The idea that things such as gender, ethnicity, and sexual orientation are simply social constructs has also been a rising topic on social media. Some people believe they should not be forced to identify as a man because they have a penis, or an African American because their skin is black. This idea would have most likely been rejected and given no more thought as little as 20 years ago. However, since people now have the ability to hide behind a screen where they feel safe, they are more likely to speak their honest opinion about controversial topics. The Huffington Post conducted research that found, because people care about the image they present to close friends on social networks, social network use enhances self-esteem in users who are focused on close friends while browsing their social network. People know they are being watched on social media, but the people who think are watching them will determine how strong their filter is. People who think only their friends see what they say are typically more likely to speak out and not watch what they say. These people tend to speak in more of a conversational tone than a formal tone. They do not take into account that anyone in the world with access to the internet can see what they say. Ironically, many people who tweet conversational things, even celebrities such as Donald Trump, seem to forget that saying something on Twitter is even more dangerous than saying something face to face. When speaking in person, only the people listening to someone know what they say. If someone repeats what they say, they can even deny it because there is no proof. However, when someone posts something on social media, the entire world can see it. Even if the person decided to delete their post, it is not truly gone. There is a possibility that somebody screenshot it and can show it to anyone. Social media is much more dangerous than people like to admit. These people who know they are being watched by teachers, family members, and coworkers will typically think ahead and be much more careful when deciding what to post. There have been circumstances where people lose their job or even get in legal trouble for what they post. Richard M. Guo wrote an article about the dangers of social media, and one of the points he brought up was that lawmakers, for their part, should work with online social networks to implement measures that affect procedures for obtaining service access. Such measures that leave site functionality to the discretion of the online social networks will tend to promote service innovation. Although this idea of making social media less open and more secure is logical, it is unlikely. Users need to be aware of the dangers of social media because they will not be going anywhere anytime soon. In addition to posting with a certain mindset, people typically post things that make them come off as a good person. No one wants someone's first impression of them to be that they are not a nice, kind-hearted person. Because of this, most social media users will only post happy things that make them look good. A study conducted by the Huffington Post proves that social network use only enhances self-esteem for those focused on strong ties when they were cued to think about the information they are presenting to others while browsing a social network. Many people use social media to seek approval from others, so it is no wonder that people try to portray themselves in the best possible way. At the end of the day, no one wants to be disliked and wants to show off the best possible version of themselves. This is the reason people put filters on their pictures and make sure their profile picture is a picture that makes them seem attractive. People do not post ugly pictures of themselves because they do not want others to see them in a way that is displeasing. However, as stated before, this does not mean people are able to always hide their ugly side. Although people try to come off as sweet and attractive and fun-loving individuals, sometimes their darker side is shown. Many people tend to get comfortable behind their screen and begin to loosely judge others. This judgment can come from very small things, such as not following the set of unwritten rules on social media, such as the ones just covered. For example, if someone's profile picture is not a picture of them or is a displeasing picture, they are much more likely to be judged or even harassed by other users. People who openly share their opinion on controversial topics usually are ridiculed by others who disagree with them. This ridicule can start small with one person openly disagreeing with them. This ridicule can start small with one person openly disagreeing with another. However, after some time, it can escalate to a national argument between thousands of people. Even worse, sometimes all the hate from the other side is directed back at the first person to mention the topic. Rather than agreeing to disagree, people on social media typically tend to fight with one another. It is very well known that fighting does not solve problems and usually only furthers them, and social media is no exception to this. Just like in real life, virtual fights often result in backlash. The people who are being harassed can become depressed and even consider suicide. If one kills oneself due to cyber harassment, the harasser is then a murderer. There have been several cases where a seemingly normal individual will harass someone for their beliefs online and cause them to kill themselves. When this happens, a normal person is turned into a murderer, and their entire identity is completely changed. Similarly, if someone shares an explicit photo of someone with some of their friends and are caught, even if they did not take the picture, do not know the person in the picture, they can become a sex offender. Simply deciding to pass the photo along can cause them to become a registered sexual offender. Every time they apply to a job or do anything that requires a background check, part of their personal identification will be that they are now a sexual predator. Every choice one makes online will have consequences. Even the littlest mistakes or lack of judgment can result in major consequences. Social media is a tool that has been utilized more and more every day for the last decade. It has given users the ability to be connected like never before. However, as the old saying states, with great power comes great responsibility. It is up to users to keep social media a friendly place that everyone can feel safe going on without being afraid of being judged for their opinions. The entire reason that social media was created was to make sharing opinions with peers easier, but like most things, it does not take much for this to be ruined. Social media users must remember that others are entitled to their own opinions just as much as they are entitled to their own opinion. It is important for users to make sure that they keep their honest identity on Twitter when sharing beliefs, as well as any other side. It is far too easy for one's identity to be ruined due to a brief lack of good judgment and common sense.